Hey, it's Lee for On Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with a 205 Live review for March 27th. Um, we get an intro, a kind of video package intro, but with also kind of cut in interviews for the Fatal 4-Way that's going to happen tonight. Now, that Fatal 4-Way is to determine the next opponent for whoever wins the championship at WrestleMania, I believe, between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. So the first person who's interviewed is Tozawa. He basically uses his new catchphrase, which he stole from someone famous in wrestling, which is "You're fired." I'm not quite sure why he's using it. It's not really playing for me, but whatever. Kalisto comes up, just says something. It's better than great lucha things, but it's not that much better. I do love the name of their group, the Lucha House Party, for him, Graham Metalik, and Lince Dorado. I think that's just a great name. It's fun. It still has the word lucha in it. I like it. Then we have I can't remember who. Oh yeah, TJP. He says beating him is compares beating him to solving a Rubik's cube because he's got so many kind of dimensions to him. That's fine, whatever. He's not the best on the mic, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard. And then Buddy Murphy basically says, I didn't manage to win the cruiserweight tournament, but not winning that was not the end of my journey, and just says he's going to win tonight. That's fine. All of this is fine. None of it was offensive to me. I hate when something stands out as exceptionally bad. I'm fine if everything is okay. Then we have Maverick on commentary before a Mark Andrews and Tony Nese match. Mark Andrews and Tony Nese both have issues with Drew Gulak, so they're basically fighting for the right to fight Drew Gulak at the next possible opportunity. Nese comes in and starts counting his abs, points at his abs, kind of like that. This is exactly what a cruiserweight match should be. It's just high flying. The bigger, stronger guy proves that he's bigger and stronger, but the high flyer guy manages to high fly and escape and do all those things. So they had a lot of kind of cool moves that were happening. And at first, the crowd was completely dead. I was like, are they sleeping or something? Because these guys are doing really impressive moves. And the crowd was like, yeah. Like, I don't get it. I guess they're just tired at this point. Maybe they need to move the 205 Live to the beginning and just call it 205. I don't know. It seems like that crowd was dead, and they deserved so much better because they were doing good work. I made a note of a couple things. I wrote that Drake Maverick is really good at selling the division. He's saying things like, every match from now on in 205 Live is all leading to cruiserweight championship opportunities. So he's saying every match matters, which is a really meaningful thing for someone to say, especially to someone in power, to say, if you win this, you might not get a title opportunity right away, but I factor it into future title opportunities. And just to say that wins mean something is a really meaningful thing in a federation company where wins often don't mean anything. So I really, really like Maverick selling him on that. There's a cool move where, and I think Nese does this fairly regularly, but Andrews is kind of draped across the top ropes in the corner, and he kicks him, and Andrews goes flying, and then he sneaks under him for a fireman's carry. I just think that looks cool. He then hits a gut buster for near fall. Tons of big moves, like moonsaults on the outside, dives, things like that. Eventually, Andrews hits what do they call it? A stun dog. I don't even know anymore, but it's a stunner. It's a stunner that doesn't look like it's going to be a stunner, and then it turns into a stunner. He hits out on Nese and hits a shooting star press for the win against Nese. I don't know why they can't push Nese. Nese looks like he should beat everybody, but I think it's his mic work that probably holds him back. Andrews is okay on the mic, but you don't really hear him on the mic all that much. I don't know. I don't find that he's got the crowd with him right now, but he is an entertaining guy. Can do pretty much anything in the air. Gonna flip the page over, get my next notes. So in the back, we had Gulak watching that match throughout. At the end of the match, Andrews went to Drake Maverick and said, I want a match with Gulak. Just said it straight up because they while they suggested I was to meet Gulak next, they didn't say it officially. But then Maverick says, "Okay, you get your match," and he shakes his hand. So then Dasha goes to the back and interviews Drew Gulak, who was watching the match, and says, "Hey, what do you think about your upcoming match against Mark Andrews?" And Gulak says, "I'm the best submission specialist in all of WWE. Anybody who wants to step up to me is going to get tapped out." It's just I'm a badass kind of promo. I was okay with it. It felt like it was definitely scripted, and it wasn't delivered as well as most of his promos. I actually think Gulak's quite good on the mic. This was not his best work, but whatever, it was fine. Then Drake Maverick essentially moderates an interview between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. They've got the championship belt in between them. It basically starts out as a who's the better good guy question. Eventually, Cedric tells his story, and he says and he's going to walk out of WrestleMania with the win. And then Ali says, "That's not how the story goes. You seem to always lose the big match. I hate to tell you this, but you're going to lose this one too." And then, he said, "Why am I freezing right now? What's going on?" Okay, Ali says that. He says, "What are you willing to do to win?" Alexander says, "I'm willing to stomp out the heart of 205 Live." So they're really playing on this as a promotion thing. They're saying that Ali is the heart of the 205 Live group, and that Cedric Alexander is the soul of 205 Live. So basically, Cedric Alexander says, "I'm willing to stomp the heart out of 205 Live." And Ali says, "You're going to have to stomp my heart out." And then they shake hands. So it's a kind of respect thing. It was cool. I was okay with it. I actually, when you have a babyface versus babyface thing, it's really hard to do that kind of interview and really come off well. This was about as good as you can do. And then we get the final match of the night. And it's a big one. It's the Fatal 4-Way between Kalisto Tozawa, TJP, and Buddy Murphy. At the beginning, the ring is cleared and TJP sits down, showing that he's a little lackadaisical. But eventually, kind of match starts back up. I thought that TJP was kind of the star of this match. He gets a double submission, so he gets an Indian Deathlock on Tozawa and manages to get an abdominal stretch on Kalisto. Kalisto manages to get out of it, chops him a couple times, but he keeps the Deathlock on and eventually hits a Northern Lights suplex on Kalisto while still having the Indian Deathlock on. It just looked cool. Now I wrote that at some point they're all on the outside and Buddy Murphy ends up looking really strong. Murphy is clearly the most physically dominant of that group of people, so he's impressive. Then we get TJP with another double submission, so he's got, I think it's called is it a Goji stretch? So he's got someone on his back essentially. And then he also kind of dangles a person in front of him. I don't even know what the move is called, to be honest with you. But it looked good. Then we get a dive sequence. So we get TJP hitting his kind of drop kick to the outside. Excuse me. TJP gets knocked off the apron. Tozawa does his suicide dive, which is, in my opinion, maybe the best in all of wrestling. So Tozawa hits that dive. Then we get a Kalisto springboard kind of twisting moonsault thing. And then we get a Tope con Hilo, I believe it's called, from Murphy. A very impressive one. Covers a lot of distance. So it's fun to watch. Then we get a really, really cool spot. So we've got TJP with another submission. He does a surfboard on Kalisto. Murphy sees this, so he sneaks in between the two guys and goes for a pin on TJP. But Tozawa is already on the top rope, and he does his finishing move, which is basically that kind of senton onto the group of them. It just looked really cool. Haven't seen that in a while or ever, so that's cool. Then there's some dissension between Kalisto and Tozawa, so we're probably heading towards a match for that. They do manage to break up a knee bar that TJP has on Buddy Murphy, so they did manage to kind of put aside their differences for a second. But then Murphy and TJP end up back in the ring. TJP goes for a detonation kick, which Murphy essentially turns into Murphy's Law, which is a cool looking finishing move. hits Murphy's Law, gets the 3 for the win. That match was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope that people go out and find it if they haven't watched it, because I thought it was pure entertainment. Overall, this whole episode was quite good. I really enjoyed pretty much everything on this episode. Some things were good and some things were great. That's all you really want. Nothing bad. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 9 out of 10. It's hard to think of a better episode of TV than this in terms of wrestling. So really good episode. I hope you guys watch it if you haven't. And yeah, I'll have another review next week. Next reviews that's going to come up is probably NXT, and then we'll have Impact. Yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.